Well, welcome back to the Kidney Trails Building You Conference 2022. It has been a wonderful, wonderful time. I've had a wonderful time here, and I hope you have too. I hope you've been able to learn. That's exactly why we did this conference. It was to help build you, hopefully for either a new career or to build yourself in your own career, or maybe you want to look into entrepreneurship or business or a side gig, whatever it is. That is why we built this conference, was for you and for those that are looking for something different. And so we're excited to be here. I'm excited to be here today. This session, I'm your speaker, and we're going to be talking about creating your golden opportunity. Well, it is good to be here, and like I said, I appreciate the opportunity once again to be here in front of each and every one of y'all wherever you're at. And if you'll pardon me, I'll be looking at also the comments on our social media channels as well to see if there's any questions that can be answered, or if any of y'all have any questions, please leave it alone in the chat. And be here, and I apologize for that because I just got a little feedback because I had my phone on. Always technical difficulties, right? Things happen. And there we go again. It's doing it again. We got it taken care of now. Okay. Anyhow, we are glad to be here. And like I said, things happen. And it's been a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time. Yesterday's sessions, both of them, both Marco and Charlie, both did wonderful jobs. Marco was inspiring with talking about how he went from his journey all the way to where he's at now. And then we look at what Charlie brought about starting a career in biomed. And I think that as well was something very unique, something that not a lot of people get to see unless you've been in biomed before. And even if you have been, there can still be things that I think each and every one of us can take. The next thing is this morning, it was another wonderful session from Mandy Tilton, where she talked about investing in yourself. One of the most important people you can invest in is yourself. And she did an absolute fantastic job. And right now we're going to get over to what we're going to talk about, and and let me see if I can do this, and I'll be looking to make sure it actually has opened up on my screen. So just give me a second as I get things prepared. Okay. So now I do see that it is sharing, and we're excited to be here today to talk a little bit to you about creating your own golden opportunities. Life in itself, there is so many different opportunities around us, it seems. I think there's each one of us has been in that place where we see everybody else around us, good things happening. But for us, sometimes it may seem like, well, when's our opportunity going to come? Or when is that big promotion or that advance in my career is going to happen? And not all the time does it come right away. Many times it takes time. What you see a lot of times with opportunities, when somebody shares good news and this opportunity's happened, this has happened, what ends up going on is that they had been working on that for quite a while. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. Many times it doesn't happen overnight. And you say, well, how in the world did that happen to them? They were only a plumber's helper. They were only a janitor, and they've had all these wonderful things, and they had this all of a sudden this huge thing happen to them that's changed their life. What happened? More often than not, they had created that opportunity beforehand. And that's what I want to give you today. Just some thoughts that I had about this, about creating your own golden opportunities. And I'm looking here, and let me just change this here while I'm thinking about it. Creating your own golden opportunities. So when we talk about golden opportunities, what's that mean? To some people, it means a career advancement, meaning they go from, like I said, a janitor, next thing you know, they're a supervisor in the department, or they go further. Sometimes it could be an opportunity to, they were, they did some side writing on the side, or just whatever. Next thing you know, they get a big publication in a major news network, or a major, even the local newspaper. That's a newspaper now, but the local news, that's a huge opportunity. Maybe they get put on the news, whatever it may be. So what is that opportunity? And when we see these opportunities come to people or come to us, uh, we see other people taking them. How can we create those same opportunities for us? So the first thing I want to talk about today, and let me see if I can make this bigger, is we want to talk about today. One of the first things is work on yourself. Work on yourself. That is a major part to creating your own opportunities, is work on yourself. Now, when we talk about working on yourself, I'm looking at self-development, personal development, growing yourself, learning, and a lot of times it starts out with, I know with me, it started out with an uncle at age 16, and at age 16, he started me on the road to self-help, self-development, personal growth, and how he did that is I worked with him. I had been working with him since I was 13. It was a family-run business, so everything was, we're out there helping him. My mom wanted to teach me a good work ethic, and we're going to get to a work ethic too, because that's a very important part of it. But what happened is we got in the truck one day. He ended up starting to put on these self-help, the self-development CDs, and I can remember some of them, the Zig Ziglars, the Les Browns, all these different ones coming up. And at first I wasn't very interested. I'm 16 years old. So what ends up happening is that when you have this thing at 16 years old, he just kept putting them on and on. And at 16, 17, and 18, eventually I started to work on myself. And one of the key components to working on yourself is to learn from other people. I think that is a phenomenal thing, and you can learn from a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about two of them that are right here. We're going to start with this one. The first thing, and I don't see this as often as we used to back in the day, and I think a lot of times it has to do with technology. Is so it's right there for us. We can pick up our cell phones, we can do all these different things on our cell phones, but one of the important things, and I remember hearing this, was start your library. And starting your library with good books, getting those books that'll help. Get a book on personal development, get a book on how to handle finances, get a book on goal setting, time management, whatever it may be. And so starting your library, it could be, it could be a spare closet that you may have in your home. It could be maybe it is your closet and it's down there in the corner because it's the only space you have for just a few books. But start it. And this is when you can use technology as well, because you can start your library on your phones or on your electronic devices as well. They make things for that. And sometimes, and especially in today's time when, we hear a lot about inflation and all these things, sometimes it's easier or less expensive to purchase them electronically. So one of the things here is to start a library. If you want to know where somebody wants to go, somebody says they want to go somewhere in life, ask them to show you their library, see what they have, because it shows that they're really serious about creating those opportunities, if they're a real student of life and about life lessons. So it's very important, to have, and I've, myself, I'm still purchasing books every now and again. I go and order them and get them in and things of that nature, and get a chance to read them. And it could start out with 10 pages a day. I remember a group I was with Tim Jackson, and he said it's 10 pages a day. If you're not a big reader, 10 pages a day. What about 5? It's at least a little opportunity to grow in yourself and helping yourself grow. So that is one of the things that we wanted to talk to a little bit about today, is start a library. Start a library, and the library can hold so many different unique things. I mean, I've got books from the personal development, self-help, other things. I've got some novels. I don't really read a lot of novels, but I got some comic books as well, because sometimes we do need a good laugh as well to kind of ease some tension. So in some ways, start a library. That is one of the first things that I think is important on working on yourself in this journey of personal development. The next thing, and I know once when we've talked about COVID a little bit, uh, when COVID hit, a lot of us were told to stay home. I still went to work every day, but things are getting somewhat back to normal. I think there's still people working from home, and that's fine. Some two people they like that better. But I just put this in this. Go to the Highway University. The Highway University. Now, the Highway University is something is when you get in your car, you can put on a CD, and it's CDs. Wow. It was back in the day, and I feel a little older than I probably should say in CDs because not many people use them anymore. But grab those self-help. You can get the audio books. You can get things on your some of the social media channels. You can get things off of LinkedIn, these shows that they do, and to be able to grow and listen to them as you go down the road. Podcasts. I know that was talked about last time in our last session. Get self-development podcasts. See, it helps it and it's feeding your mind. What it is, it's feeding your mind with some really great information that sometimes you'll be able to use down the road to help you create that opportunity. So, utilize that time. Don't, to me, I don't mind listening to music when I'm driving down the road. Music's another thing that can help as long as it's good music and it's got good lyrics and it's encouraging. But with this, utilize your time wisely. And that was once again something brought back with Mandy, where she's talking about time management. But if you're driving down the road to the grocery store and it's just a few minutes, if you get 5-10 minutes of a audio book or a presentation in, it's a good thing to do. So, it helps you. And then you can come back, you got another 5-10 minute drive home, and you've had 10 to 20 minutes worth of self-development for the day. So use Highway University. And you know what's funny about it? We never graduate from it. There's no graduation from it. It's always continual learning. Continual learning. All right. So when we talk about working on yourself, one of the things that I find very important is to write down what your thoughts are. And I know back in the day, they would have, I remember back in my time, they used to talk about, diaries and journals. And, me, I was like, I really don't want to do any of that. But it helps us. I think starting a journal, I mean, you could start off with just a legal pad, literally, or just a notebook, piece of notebook, a little notebook that you would get at the a local market or the local store. So just start your own journal. What I would do with that is learning how to use a journal, right? There's several different ways that people teach on how to use it. One of the things is write down what you want to accomplish by the end of the journal. That's a good, write your goals down. I go through and let's see if I can do this. One of the things that I do in my journal, and I'm going to move this. Oops, I'm going to move this over here. You have to. Well, I'm going to try to move it. I'm going to move that there because we're going to talk about that. But one thing's when I'm writing my journal, sometimes I'll make little marks like this. And then what I'll do on some of it, and I'll show you here in just a second. On some of them, I'll put a little circle. And then others, I'll just do a square. We're just going to show this just for this, for the sake of example. And so what I do with this when I'm using my journal, so the stars would be my thoughts or philosophies. So I'll put thoughts. This is how to use a journal, just simple. And for the circle, we'll do goals. Well, we're going to try to do goals. Let's do that. First time I'm using a whiteboard through this, but I actually kind of like it. So goals, you'd put goals here. And let's go for this one right here. Let's put contacts. And we're going to have a very wonderful session by Steve Gatson tomorrow about, or we tell you what, let's do it this way, about using your network. This is your network. And what I do is I write this in one of the pages. And I keep that journal everywhere I go. If I have a thought, something I saw and I would utilize that. So maybe I heard somebody speak about something, and it was very good. It's like I like a lot of Jim Rohn stuff, so I listen to a lot of his stuff. So one of the things that he brought out that his mentor told him was work harder on yourself than you do your job. So what I would do is I would put this little squiggly mark, and I'd write down right beside of it, work harder on yourself than you do your job, Jim Rohn. And that way, when you're flipping through your journal, you can see the thoughts. You can say, well, my goal was to have an extra $10,000 by the end of the year. So that you can look back and you can see where those goals. And there's different ways to use a journal. This is just a way that I use it. Network, you can put communication information, far as contact information and things like that. One of the things that I think is very important as well, and all these are important when it comes to this, is if you're going to work on yourself, one thing that I have, especially in whatever job or place that you're at, one of the important thing is to learn how to communicate well with people. And back in the day, I didn't get around a lot of people, so uh, I kind of worked with my uncle, and I did schooling. I did schooling at home. It was nothing wrong with that. But for me to communicate with people was a little bit more difficult. And if I'm going to take one thing that I think every one of us can work on to be better at is communication. With that is find ways to communicate with other people, whether it's on a conference call, maybe it's with your coworkers. I think it's very important nowadays. Learn how to communicate with each other. Learn how to communicate through email, learn how to write better. It all helps you into creating that golden opportunity. And when we think about it, if we're well spoken, it doesn't mean we have to use big fancy words, but we're well spoken, we utilize our words correctly, then it sounds cleaner. It's more professional in our jobs. If we're in a job interview, or maybe we're sitting down, we've got a business and we're sitting down with a potential customer. Communication is a key component to be able to close deals or to get things done. Communication with your team is extremely important as well. So practicing these every day, and you can put that communication, I'm going to put this right here, is starting a library. That would be one book that I'd be looking at, how to communicate better. Your words matter, and how you say something matters. I was talking to Steve Gadsden today, and we were talking about an event that I spoke at his event. And one of the things I told him, I said, I found out a few things. Is one thing I spoke a little too fast, and I may still be doing that, working on it. The other thing was there were some words that I could have used differently that would have had a much bigger impact. So it doesn't matter. It could be communication with your coworkers, with your family, with your companion, with your business acquaintances. That's helping, and it makes you stand out, and makes opportunity you be able to create those golden opportunities. All right, on to the next one. When you're creating opportunities, there's a lot of times people think that, well, these things must happen overnight, and they don't. And I am having some trouble here, and it's okay. We'll fix it. Maybe there it is, right there. There we go. Well, maybe we'll be able to. Maybe we won't. Okay. One of the things of being to be able to create opportunities is be willing, show up with a willingness to do certain things. A lot of times in the speaking industry, when we go to speak, a lot of times, we don't just get to where we're at speaking before hundreds and thousands of people. And I use this example. I got invited to speak in Arizona at this conference. And when I got to the event, they had a general session, and then I was right after that. And there was about 3,000 people in that audience, and there was actually some people that was visiting from other countries as well, that definitely had some influence in the world. And I remember I went to stand up to speak, and I was nervous. I was sweating. Everything was going, but also all the things that I had done before that had helped me to be there, because I didn't just get there. Oh, they called me up one day and said, "Hey, Anthony, we need you to come speak before this big audience." What ended up happening is I had been speaking since this happened in 2019, and I had been in public speaking since 2014. There was multiple times that I would go up and go out and speak without getting paid. Sometimes the audience would be one person, but I'd still show up. So one of the things, somebody that's willing, generally, they show up. Somebody that's not willing, what do? They'll say something like, "I'm tired," or "I don't have time." And they say, well, all they're gung ho about doing it at first, and then what they say is, when they realize it may not be as big of a crowd as they were expecting, they'll start using what I would call, in fact, I'll just put it this way, instead of doing that, let's do this. And if I spell wrong, oh well. They'll start offering excuses. People that are not willing to do anything will start offering excuses. Some of those I just gave you, but those that are willing, they show up. Why? They never know what's going to happen. And a lot of times it's because of this next portion of somebody that's willing. They have purpose in their life. They got asked to speak to a group of high school students on their experience. They have a purpose in their life to do something greater than them. Somebody that's not willing, they generally just see it as a gig. And if it's not paying, many times they don't show. Willing people study. They study their craft. They work on their craft. And I'm talking a little bit more about speaking, but it could be speaking, leadership. It could be writing. It could be live streaming, podcasting. They study their craft. They find what they need to be better at what they're doing. They study other people in the field. They don't get lazy in learning. People that are not willing are generally lazy in learning. They don't want to go to the live stream shows. They don't want to go look up. And I mean, we have, with all the social media and the video platforms out there, you can pretty much find all the information that you need on any particular subject that you're wanting to do. Somebody says, "Hey, I want to be a public speaker." So then they can find that all over the internet, how to improve public speaking, how to be communicative, how to communicate better, how to use whatever. Somebody that's just wants to do whatever, they won't even, they'll be lazy. They may look at a second or two, but they won't do it. And I'll use this as an example too. Last year we had decided to do the Kidney Trail Summit, and I was really excited to do it, but I had not done anything like an online conference in my life, much less even a live stream. So what did I do? I started studying. I started looking up different videos, how to do this code to this, how to get it. And by the time we got to the conference, I was somewhat versed in it. We had some issues, but we were able to get through it. But I studied day in, day out on that particular thing that I wanted to do, because I wanted to not just do this conference, but I wanted people to see, or the summit, I wanted the people to be able to take home with them these wonderful things that the speakers had to say. So if you want to create your golden opportunity, some of the things you can do is, number one, show up. Any event you get asked to speak in an event, you get asked to represent at an event. Maybe somebody says, I need you to do this. Maybe the boss says, hey, I need somebody to come in and put this stuff away or do a little bit of cleaning before the next day. Don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that. So showing up, very important. Have purpose in your life, and at least be looking for purpose in your life, the purpose that you were called to do. Look for that. And the other thing is study. Willing people study. Study your craft, study what you want to do, study your dream. I mean, use LinkedIn. We're streaming on that and amongst other platforms. Utilize that. Connect with people. That's another thing. And I'll just put it right here is connect with people. People that aren't willing, they won't connect. And they won't make profiles that represent them. So connect with other people. Maybe set up a coffee chat or a meeting, 15 minutes. It could change your life. That could be the opportunity that you have been looking for. Those are some things that a willing person would do when they are creating their golden opportunity. Here's a key important part, and I definitely want to talk about this one here. Start where you're at. Now, a lot of times, and especially, and I talked about this a little bit, a lot of times people think, a lot of times, we see a lot of people on different social medias and they seem massively successful. And so the assumption is, well, if I start my channel or I start my podcast or I start this or I start that, my company, it's not going to be no more than a few, maybe a year and I'll be up at the top. Because look at them, they did a year and, they've been this wonderful creator or wonderful blogger or massive successful speaker. What people don't see a lot of times, if I can move this, I don't know if I can, well, is they don't see this section right here. Most people that are massively successful or successful in any form, not just massively, they start down here at the bottom. So what do? They start where they're at. Doesn't matter how much they have, they just start. Some may be able to cross the first step easier than the next person, but the next person may be able to get to the next step easier. The main thing is to start. You see, as we have these two individuals right here, we have two people represented here, stick figures. They're starting here at the bottom. They don't start at the top. They're starting here at the bottom and they start moving, making their way and up to the top to be able to go further in life. So it could be, they've got this right here and they're going eventually with persistence, with utilizing themselves far as self-development and things of that nature. They'll continue to grow and it's going to take time. It could take a few years, 5 years, it could take 10, 20 years before they hit that. But as long as they're moving towards that, that's the key thing. Keep moving, not only start where you're at, keep moving towards that direction. And one of the things is too, and I'll put this in here, have a vision of where you want to go. You may start where you're at, but always have that vision. And I did a speech not too long ago where I talked about having a vision and putting it in your storehouse. Always keep that vision with you of where you wanted to be. That will help you as you move up the ladder. Have that vision. As you hit some rough patches, have the vision. Keep the vision. Have the vision and keep the vision until finally you move up here to this section and you hit this goal. So start where you're at and have a vision towards your goal. Have a vision where you want life to, what you expect out of life. I like this too, is life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you deserve. If you never start, you'll never get there. The key thing is to start. You say, but it's slow. Keep going. It's rough. Keep going. I'm tired. Keep going. The late nights, I'm here up till 12, 1 o'clock, and I got to be up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to be easy to get that golden opportunity, but you have to keep moving. Well, I'm not feeling good. There's been days, and I can tell you and attest that I haven't been feeling the greatest, but I keep going. Send something out, maybe do some work, maybe not as much as normal, but it still do a little something to keep moving towards that goal or towards creating that opportunity for myself. I definitely want to talk about this next portion. You know, here's another thing that I've seen is a lot of times, especially in the live streaming world and the podcasting and all that, when it comes to doing these things, and I want to speak a little bit more because I think live streaming, podcasting, blogging, it can be really help you no matter what type of industry that you're in. If you're in the health industry, it can help you to be able to get your what you're working on out to the world. It can also help to be able to for you to share thoughts, maybe some of your opinions on how to, be maybe you want to do a blog on leadership. It would help you and utilize what you can. When I first started out back with Kenny Trails, I started out with like I think it was the free plan or next to the free plan, like the just $1 to a month. Use what you have until you can pay for what you want. A good buddy of mine, friend of mine, Wills Porter, he did a podcast, and his podcast, he did it right on his phone. He did it right on his phone. That's all he did. And why was that? Because at the time he wanted to get the message out. He was trying to create this opportunity to be a more of an impact into the industry he was trying to get into. So he just used his phone. A lot of people start out, but once you start getting more, and then you can actually earn a little bit of income, then you can get more different some of the things that you see other people using, the mics, the lights, the rooms, and all that stuff. But if you start with your phone, there's nothing wrong with that. There's so many different good podcasts, and it's not about to me, and I want to say this in the right way, it's not about the equipment, as expensive equipment as you have, as it is about the quality of the content. See, quality content can definitely overshadow inexpensive um, things that you may not be you may just be using your phone. And so use what you have until you can pay for what you want. So I've got right here phone. There is free podcasting hosting sites. You can do different there. I think there's a few out there that you can start using to be able to get your message out there and across to people. Blogging, and I've talked about this. One of the things is I am into blogging a lot. I enjoy blogging. I enjoy writing my thoughts out. Some of those thoughts come from my own journal, things that I wrote prior. So, use what you have until you can pay for what you want and need. And what that does is you start getting your content, you start getting your thoughts and your philosophy out there. Somewhere along the line, the right person's either going to hear it, see it, read it, and they're going to say, I have to talk to so and so because this resonated so well. I believe that I can use them in my organization. I believe I can use them in my company. I believe that I can help them with that. Maybe I can invest into their company. Even though they don't have much right now, maybe I can do an investment. So use what you have. Use what you have. And it's this thing, you never know who's listening to what you're doing. You may only have one person listening in. You may have nobody at the time, but you just you use the keep posting. I'm gonna put that down here, posting. Another great thing to use is LinkedIn. It's free. Create a profile. You said, but it's a job hunting site, and some of the LinkedIn creators and I've talked about this. The live streamers, it's not just a business site anymore. There's things that you can do on it. Create it. Maybe find a way on how to create it if you need to. Use the things. Use social media as necessary for marketing purposes. And that's a great way to get your thoughts because, like I said, you never know who's going to see it. There's so many different things out there that I think that people they miss because either they don't know or they're scared to know about it. So, find what you can, and then once you are able to bring some more income in, whether it's in the business or whether it's in your own career, maybe you're able to get a big promotion, and then you can afford a decent mic or a decent blog site or whatever not. you know, just keep going on with that. And once again, to create this golden opportunity for yourself, it's uh, you just got to keep moving towards that. Maybe it's one little piece of equipment. Maybe it's one thing at a time that you have to accomplish before you get to that big goal. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, whatever it is, take it one step at a time until you get to that opportunity. And sometimes opportunity finds us. It seems like they find us, but it really has seen us, and then it comes to us because we've been putting in the work and the hours and the labor. It goes back to what I said at the start of this presentation, that you know I may have ended up on that big stage, or any of us could have ended up on that big stage, but we started somewhere. I liked what John C. Maxwell said. I wish they could have seen where I started. And that's something I've kind of taken, and I've told people I wish they could have seen where I've started. I've told my team I wish some people could have seen where we have started, because where we started was very it definitely wasn't on where we're at now with where KT's at. So, just keep going, because eventually you'll get there and you'll say, "Oh, now I see." It's a thing that's that I think you can definitely take from that. And like I said, we're just monitoring chats as well. Here is a very important portion. And I think if I can get it to work. There we go. Be prepared. Be prepared. A lot of times when I go to that I've done throughout my speaking career is I'll find myself working on a speech while I'm driving down the road. And I remember driving past one individual and my arms are going, and my voice is getting louder and all these things. My windows are down. And just pulled up the stoplight, and I'm going off. You got to have, a good mindset and this and that. And it says this, and, remember, think of things that are good and this and that. And this individual looks at me and just gives me the weirdest look. It's like, okay, you can look, hey, I'm just preparing myself because that opportunity may come. I would rather prepare and not need it. And then I'm sure many of y'all have heard that. I'd rather, have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I'd rather be prepared and not need that preparation than to need it and not be prepared. I'd hate to get a call from some group or an event said, we need you to speak at this event. And it's quite a, it's 20, 30,000 people, and I haven't prepared. I didn't do those car speeches, or I didn't, sit down at the kitchen table and plan my future business, or I did not sit down and plan where I wanted to go in my career, or I didn't take that initiative class, that class that the company was offering for everybody completely free, and you got to go on your day off or whatever, not, or you not your day off, but you'd get to go on one day. I would hate to not take that opportunity, and next thing I know, the opportunity arises, but I needed to do that class, or I needed that business plan, or I needed that practice in my car, because then I get up and next thing I'm here. thanks for showing up. You're able to get on stage and say, well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm grateful to be here. It is exciting. And I don't know if I'm excited because I have something wonderful to share, or I'm more excited just to go sit down once it's all done. Just as a introduction, so to speak. So being prepared, it's so important. There's so many different things, and it goes all the way back to what I was talking about when we start talking about the first one, where we were talking about self-development, working on yourself and building you. That's what you're doing. That's what we're doing today. Those of you that are here with us in the room, and those of you that may be out there in our social media channels, or maybe your hashtag replay, if you've gotten this far, guess what? You've been working on yourself. Now, the thing is, the key component of that is take what you can and then make your own conclusions and add what you can, and don't take what you don't, what you don't need at the time. So right here, I think being prepared is so important in today's time. So many times, like I said, once again, people can go on any kind of social media channel and get on the information. You'd hate to. I remember the story, and I was thinking about this today, and I don't remember exactly how it goes, so I may get a little bit mixed up. But there was a job for, I think it was, like they used to do back Morse code, and I don't remember what that was called, maybe like a code breaker or something like that, SOS Signal Man, whatever it was. And this company needed these individuals, someone to come be able to do this certain code when they'd hear it through the beeps and stuff. And so several young men went to the office to interview, and all they heard was the constant beeping. And eventually one individual gets up and walks into the office and comes out with a job. What happened was the owner of the company had been beeping out the message: if you can translate this message, you have the job, come to the office. He was prepared. He was prepared for that opportunity and did well. I mean, there's so many different stories that we could share with you about. The one with Thomas Edison and Barnes. That's another great story. The thing is, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. You say, well, my audience is only a few of my animals or my kids, and they don't even want to listen to me. Maybe my writing is not that good, and only one person read it. Well, that's one more that read it than that would not have had the opportunity to read it. So being prepared, working on yourself, I think that is all highly, highly important. There's opportunities, and the thing is, by being prepared and that opportunity comes, you created that. Isn't that amazing? You created that opportunity for yourself. In the long run, somebody heard, they've seen the work that you put into it, and that is, I think, is absolutely a phenomenal thing. I recently got a call with an opportunity that I did not expect, but I'm grateful that I was prepared for it. Something very unique. But, these are some of the things I've thought about when I was thinking about creating your golden opportunity. And this is what I have to talk about today. And I don't see any questions in my social media chat. I will look again and see if there's anything in there that I have not seen. Let's see. And if anybody in my Zoom audience has a question, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. What was that? I don't see any questions for the audience. I trust it has been well. But start working on creating your golden opportunity. I want you to be, and exactly, I do see a message here. Preparation is key. It really is. That's why I wanted to end on that. Preparation. You got to be prepared for these things. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for attending, the Kenny Trails Building Youth Conference 2022. We still have 2 events tomorrow. We've got one from Steve Gatson talking about utilizing your network. That's going to be a key component to be able to prepare for your golden opportunity. And then we have Heather Coiner. She will be speaking on finding purpose in your career. But I am thankful and excited and grateful for everybody that showed up today. And y'all have a wonderful afternoon. And we hope to see you tomorrow. And don't forget, you can still register. There's still time at kennytrails.com, or you can follow us on any of our social media channels and watch live there. All right, guys.